Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my thoughts on Monday Night Raw from the 13th this week. Do it a little bit earlier. Won't have to do it on a Sunday or Monday now, like I've been killing myself to do. These shows are really not worth watching all of them all at once. So I'm going to go ahead and start trying to watch some of these things during the week. Um, Raw Roulette returned for the first time in 3 years, or however many, 4 years, or they just wouldn't shut up about it. Tooting their own horn. They sounded a lot like TNA all night long with some of the 3 years since the tables match and two legends, Cena and Orton, and we're so great. Yeah, the show really wasn't all that great. They kicked off with Chad Ochocinco, who apparently does not need to start practicing Mondays. He gets Mondays off after a loss, which is good. The Bengals were basically had their butts handed to them on Sunday by the Patriots, and Chad decides to celebrate by hosting another television show because he's already on TV. Enough as it is, he needs another one, really. He does not get enough face time. Anyways, he and The Miz had a really good back and forth thing in the ring. I actually really liked how The Miz played that off. And of course, they were playing it up to try and probably get some national exposure from it. I did not get to catch SportsCenter. Don't know if it made SportsCenter. Really, it doesn't matter. Chad's actually not very good in front of a live audience. That's probably why he tweets more than he talks on camera. But The Miz was really good here. I love because The Miz is from Ohio that he riled up his hometown fans. Not necessarily from Cincinnati, but his home state fans hated him more than anybody else on the show, I think, by the time he was done. But the two had a nice back and forth. It was pretty entertaining. Then they went ahead and had Miz face off against Daniel Bryan in a submission match. Miz quit the match, but didn't technically lose the match. I'm really confusing. You know how I'm a stickler for the rules, so I really hate when things are decided that have no absolute definite outcome and are completely, I don't know what the word is. It's just, things need to have a definite beginning, middle, and end. If you want to be treated like a sport, even though you're just a scripted television show, no different from Cold Case, you're totally scripted. But if you want to be treated as a sports show, then you need to have winners and losers and rules and guidelines. And just having a guy quit a match but not actually be credited with the loss on the show is just silly. But Miz had an okay couple of minutes with Daniel Bryan, and then Alex Riley subbed in and immediately got beat by Bryan. Now, I was okay with this because Bryan needs to be put over. Hopefully, he's on his way to a U.S. championship reign, so I was okay with the way this played out. And then he made Miz tap as well, which was good. So overall, the segment was beneficial to Miz and Bryan, and really probably Alex Riley, even though he got his butt kicked. I like to see what they're going to do to get these people over heading into the pay-per-view, especially somebody who has not had a. Well, I shouldn't say that. Bryan has main evented technically a pay-per-view, but Bryan's going to be standing alone in this match for the first time on pay-per-view, and I like to see how they build him up, and I think they're doing an okay job. So commendable. Then they had Edge versus Evan Bourne in a body slam challenge. That was just a total waste of time and a total buzzkill for Bourne. They really are just misusing him now on top of destroying him. He really looked like he was going to have a major push. Now he's really going nowhere. Losing a body slam challenge to a guy who's not that much bigger than him was just stupid. And the match was really short. So GM Michael Cole got up and, surprise opponent Mark Henry. So the all-time leading surprise opponent added another one to his tally. And they had a crappy, 20-second bout. It was really stupid. Nobody likes Mark Henry winning anything. And slamming Edge made no sense. Edge winds up being Mark Henry's fodder, but Edge is main eventing on Sunday. It was silly. Edge is kind of being a comedy character right now. I'm not really sure what they're trying to do with that, but I like Edge's work, promo-wise and on the mic, and some of the acting, quote unquote, stuff that they're doing backstage with him and Zack Ryder and Sheamus and stuff. It's good, but it's really not doing anything for me if I'm going to believe that Edge is somehow going to wind up winning at Night of Champions. I really feel like he is 5th or 6th in the running to win that match if I had to take bids on it right now. Then they had R-Truth and Eve versus Ted DiBiase and Maurice in a song and dance match, which was total crap. R-Truth did another song. He did a second song where he repeated a lot of the same words again, but it was kind of like a rock song, rap song. And then Eve tried to dance to this song, which isn't really a dance song. So it was kind of awkward on television. And then Ted DiBiase did a beautiful rendition of My Way by Frank Sinatra, while Maurice danced around him, and the crowd hated both of them for it. This comedy stuff is okay, but they really overdid it on Monday. They just really hammered home that they're not very good at writing stuff that's actually entertaining, and they really reminded everybody about how thin things really are on the writing staff when it comes to coming up with things that people actually want to see. This was something no one wants to see. It was a total waste of time, a total waste of talent. DiBiase and R-Truth could have had a decent match, and instead they wasted everyone's time. The only thing about that segment that I really enjoyed, and I did want to mention this, Jerry Lawler made a hilarious quote about how Pat Patterson is rolling over in his grave during that segment, which is ironic and funny at the same time. And Cole said, Pat Patterson's not dead, and Lawler responded, well, he is after this. And I couldn't agree more. Pat Patterson is probably rolling over in a grave or in the coffin that he's purchasing that he will someday lay in. It was a terrible, terrible waste of time for everybody. Then they had Sheamus versus John Morrison in Falls Count Anywhere. This was actually a pretty entertaining match. Morrison is really good now. He is definitely main event ready. They are definitely battle testing him in the last few weeks. I like what they're doing. I just want to see it go somewhere. I'm really disappointed that the U.S. title is on Miz's waist and is essentially, up until this new feud with Daniel Bryan, Miz hasn't really been doing a whole lot with this U.S. title. Somebody like Morrison should definitely be repeatedly challenging for the U.S. title. That's what a mid-card title's for. But Morrison's now, battle tested. He's ready for the main event, so he can move up now. Just forget about the U.S. title. Let's just put him in that world title picture. I actually wanted to see him win his way into the six-pack challenge. I thought that would have been a great storyline to see him beat Sheamus, beat the current champion, and earn a spot into the main event. But no, they wanted to do a whole bit with Jericho. Now, that was entertaining too, but if I was writing the story, I would not have had Jericho come out. I would have had Morrison earn his way in and then create another dynamic for the six-pack challenge at Night of Champions. But Jericho cost Morrison the match. Sheamus winds up winning. Yet another match that Sheamus wins where he either had help or won through some sort of stupid stipulation. Or in this case, a steel chair to the back of his opponent by somebody else. So Sheamus still not winning cleanly. He's only beaten Zack Ryder cleanly, and that was a joke of a match too. Y2J hijacked the show. It was really entertaining, his back and forth with the email GM / Michael Cole. I was really surprised that they were able to pull something off like that when it's so contrived and so poorly done and so over the top. This GM, omnipotent GM, mystery guy. Total waste of time, personally. They kill so much time on this show dealing with Cole walking to the booth, reading what the GM said, the reaction, the random, I'm sending an email during an entrance. So much stuff it's just a waste of time on this show. I cannot get over how much time they waste on Raw. But Jericho and fake GM Cole had a pretty entertaining segment. Jericho's back in the six-pack challenge. That's fine. Like I said, I would prefer have Morrison wind up taking that spot, but Jericho, of course, is a world champion caliber wrestler, so he certainly deserves a pay-per-view event. Now, he had to win his way in by beating the Hart Dynasty in a handicap cage match. My problem with this was 2-on-1 in a cage is supposed to be 2-on-1 in a cage, but David Hart Smith escaped the cage, left his partner in there, and didn't bother to go back in and help his partner when it made more sense for him to probably climb back in the cage and beat down Jericho so they could both win. Smith gets out of the cage, leaves Tyson Kidd in there to basically lose to Jericho by submission. Kidd put up a decent showing, but the crowd really wasn't into it. It shows you how poor the tag team division really is when your tag champions have practically no overness. But Jericho winds up winning, gets in. Jericho was okay. Then we had a crap, 1 minute match between Goldust and William Regal where they had to, it was like the gimmick infringement match. And Goldust used brass knucks on Regal. That was dumb, total waste of time. They could have really honestly just done a recap segment and it would have served the same purpose. Then the main event, Randy Orton defeated John Cena in a table match. This was actually a very good match. There was a lot going on here, though. All of the other competitors for the six-pack challenge at Night of Champions got involved. Nexus got involved. I liked the way Nexus was used, though. They were basically disposed of one by one, and Wade Barrett really didn't get out any further than Justin Gabriel or David Otunga or the redheaded guy, whose name I keep forgetting. He really didn't get much more overness out of this segment than the other members of Next, which I kind of liked in this case, because Wade's been pushed so much further than the others. It kind of brought him back down and said, hey, he's still part of Nexus, and Nexus did not get their way this time around. So I kind of liked the story they told, but again, it was a really contrived match. The ending was kind of cool, but nobody realized what was going on. When they showed the slow-mo finally at the very end of the show and showed Orton flipping an attitude adjustment into an RKO, it looked phenomenal. Problem was the table didn't break quite right. It's a very difficult thing to pull off anyway. And in front of the live audience, everybody seemed kind of confused. So I really wish they would have saved something, kind of an RKO out of an attitude adjustment. I wish they would have saved that for maybe a pay-per-view moment. That would have been something that really would have blown people's minds. Not doing it in a tables match where you're counting on the table to break, and of course, the table didn't do what it was supposed to do. But Raw was okay at best, but for the most part, it was very disappointing. I really like Raw Roulette. I've always loved that gimmick. It's been hilarious at times. It's been entertaining at times. It's been interesting at times. It's created some stuff that you wouldn't normally see, like it's supposed to. But this whole show was contrived. It was very watered down, and aside from Morrison and Sheamus, really most of the show was a total waste of time. So I definitely give Raw, if I had to go on a 5-star scale, I would give Raw a 2-star performance this week. So that's my thoughts on Raw, and I'll go ahead and talk about Ring of Honor in another video here and next, which was awful.